All righty, here we go. We are going to go over the DNA. Surprise, surprise, right? Many times, if we don't realize what's going on because we don't understand the Bible, we don't understand what we are, we don't understand many things, right? So, this might be new to you, but it's not new to the Creator and it's not new to the concept. There's a reason why Yahweh tells us what to do, what to eat, how to live, right? Now, the only way that we can come different from this is if we start believing in evolution and things like that, because if we don't, then we have to believe we was made the same, right? I think we all will agree that we was made as Adam. We was made as in the image of Yahweh, right? Can we see the Bible verses there? Bible verses about DNA. So, with all this being said, the problem becomes is a lot of people don't believe their Bible and they don't know how to interpret their Bible. And they're too busy finding everything wrong and everything different and everything about their Bible than what they need to be doing, right? Now, the reason this is, well, basically is because they want to do what they want to do, right? So when they do these things, they don't realize what they're doing to themselves. So with all that being said, we'll get into it and then we'll go over some more of what the Bible actually is saying, right? What is it talking about? What is it doing? What is happening in our lives? Why are so many people having problems? Let's see. For I formed you, my inward parts. You knotted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. You formed my inward parts, my DNA, right? So my DNA is what he formed. It's what he made. It's what he made us as. So what happens if we're not careful, we are not doing, or we're not living, we're not having what the scripture says we are supposed to have. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, then we ought to know what's going on in our life. But a lot of us don't, because we don't realize what's going on with our life, right? So with all that being said, we know about Jacob's ladder. We know the going back and forth. We know all these things. The problem is we haven't learned until lately, or we haven't brought this to attention until lately, that our DNA actually makes us who we are, right? You have the X, Y chromosomes. You have all these things that make us who we are. Now, without that, we can have many problems, right? And you can look up and find people that has different things wrong with them, and there's a problem with their DNA. So you break the DNA chain, you break this, and there's a problem. What's that got to do with you and me? Well, everything, because when we break what Yahweh says to do, then we have a problem. Make sense? If we eat pork, and he says pork is not on the menu, and pork changes our molecules and our DNA, then what do we have? We have a problem, right? This is why he says, do what he says. Do what he says, and he ain't got to tell us what he means or what's going on. We just are supposed to do what he says, right? So what we have to do is exactly that. We have to do what he says, live how he says, and, to take care of ourselves. So, the mic off? So what we have to do is make sure that we are living the way we're supposed to be living, and we don't change our DNA. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. Right? So what it's saying is exactly what it's saying. Our inside, who we are, and what we're about is what he's showing. It's what he knows, right? So he knows us from the inside out. He knows who we are. He knows what we're about. Now, with all that being said, again, what's that mean to me? What you eat, what you drink, what you put in your body, and your sexual partner. That's right, especially women. Women, when they have the intercourse with men, that DNA goes into their body. That's how we have babies, right? That's where babies come from, right? So we know it takes that DNA to make a baby. So what I'm going to submit to you here, this is why we have the world we live in of women that don't know what they're coming, they're going, they're boys, they're girls, they want a man, they don't want a man. They've had so many partners, they've had so much DNA that they don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. They don't know what they want. You add a little bit of rebellion to that, and wow, what a witch's brew you have, right? So this is where you have, and it don't have to take but just 1, 2, 3, right? Different partners. If you have different partners, this is what it comes up to be, right? I mean, that's why he says you're only supposed to have one man, because when you have multiple, you start having a bunch of different DNA changing, and then that's what you have different things. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. He made us. He knows what he wants us to be. He told us what we're not to be. And this is where we have LGBT and all these people. They don't know if they're coming and going either, because they're changing their very DNA, whether they know it or not. That's why you see these people, they start talking different, right? You ever see these guys that they start talking different? How does that happen? They don't just talk like that, do they? A lot of them start talking different. They start acting different. They want to dress different. They want to, where would all this come from? Their very DNA. The man is the dominant vessel, and the man's DNA changes the woman to be like the man, right? Believe it or not, that's scientific, that's biblical. It says what? The man and the woman will be as one. He's talking about your DNA. He's talking about what he says is truth. It's not an idiom. It's not a parable. He's really saying if a man and a woman go together, they're going to go together and they're going to be, that's why you see these people that look like, talk like, act like, and answer each other that's been married for 50 years. Somebody says something, they know, here's the problem. Hey, let's go. Oh, let's go out and have pizza. Sure. Hey, how'd you know? And they don't even ask how you know anymore. They know. The DNA is so much that we know each other, right? Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. He has made us the way he's made us. No regrets, no repentance, no anything. The problem is when we start changing ourselves, when we start saying, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. I'm going to have this husband and get rid of him, and that husband, get rid of him, and that husband and get rid of him, and 20 boyfriends. Why do you think Hollywood is full of people that are crazy? They're always chopping their hair and doing this, slitting their wrists and suicides. Why? Don't you think there's a reason truly why? Or do you think they're all just mad? You think they just pick people off the streets and they act totally lunatics? Some of these people are very, very intelligent. And they know how to work a crowd. Jim Carrey, look at that. Intelligence, education somewhat, and knowing how to deal with people, right? But how do these women that come and do the same thing, and then all of a sudden, it seems like they just lose their mind? Britney Spears, Ellen, some of these women, they just seem to be on top of the world, and all of a sudden they lose their minds. Is it just all for the media hype, or are they really losing their minds? Well, they've been with Justin, they've been with Tom, they've been with Fred, they've been with Harry, and they've been with, and all that DNA inside them is screaming, be like me. And they don't realize it. What happens? Everyone who is called by my name, whom I created for my glory, whom I formed and made. Just like everything else, you can change yourself. Just like Hasatan did, right? He, in a way, changed himself. He didn't do what Yahweh said. Therefore, he became the opposite of what he should have been. I would submit to you, through your DNA, through your life, through your body, you can do exactly the same thing, whether it be with who you're in bed with or what you're eating. You know, he says, read Isaiah 66, all those who eat swine's flesh and the abomination. That might be something to dig into, because what is that doing to you? What is it making you? What is it turning you into? And almost any doctor would agree that eating these things causes what? Heart disease, heart failure, heart valves, on and on and on, hardening of the arteries, high blood pressure, but yet people continue to disobey. And it's so bad now that they will laugh in your face if you tell them not to eat bacon, or don't eat bacon bits, or don't have chicken, or don't eat this, and they think you have lost your mind. But somehow the very DNA is changing. 1 Corinthians 6:19, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Ruach HaKodesh within you, whom you have from Elohim? You are not your own. There you go. Well, why couldn't we? Why? It doesn't matter. He says you are not your own. This is your test. This is your lifelong goal to prove to the Father that you are obedient. And if you fail that test, then guess what? You ain't going to enter the kingdom. If you fail the test, eat, sleep, and do whatever you want to do and disobey everything he says you are the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh. How can someone be the temple and they're just full of evil? They're so worried about everything else but what they should be doing. There's half the world, if not 80 to 90%. They are demon slayers, they're Jesus freaks, they're all on their own bandwagon, beating their drum, and he says, no, do this. Oh no, I am on this bandwagon, chasing these Indians down the pole. Why? What'd they do to you? Because I don't like this, and because I believe that, and because and if it ain't careful, your very DNA of what you're shoveling down your pie hole and what you're eating and what you're doing is changing you and making you more subservient to demons. Instead of what it says, instead of you being what you're supposed to be, you're becoming more and more lowered, that the demons can just talk to you, talk through you, do what they will with you. And we see it more and more rampant than probably ever right now. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Yahweh was hovering over the face of the waters. And Yahweh said, let there be light, and there was light. And Yahweh saw that the light was good, and Yahweh separated the light from darkness. Yahweh called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And Yahweh said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And Yahweh made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And Yahweh called the expanse heaven, or Shelim. And there was evening and there was morning the second day. And whether anybody understands what that is or not, that's what he made. Whether anybody agrees with that's what it is or not, that's what he made. And when we know all, we see all, we're judged for all, we'll probably realize, but why do it then? Why try to change it? And see, what I'll submit to you is a lot of people are trying to make their life fit the Bible, or the Bible fit their life, one way or the other, right? They're trying to say, well, here in James, here in Genesis, well, here the dinosaurs, well, here this, and here Tyrannosaurus Rex, and they're trying to make it fit. He don't ask you to make it fit. He don't ask you to make it fit for him. He don't ask you to put your little brain into any more gear than what he asks you to do. He says, believe what he says and do what he says. That's all you have to do. All these scientists and people and people call themselves geniuses. There's a demon for that, by the way, that all these people that think they're so educated, right? I said that on purpose. They think they're so educated and they know so many things and they've studied and studied and studied, and that don't mean nothing to Yahweh. It don't mean a thing to him. If you read his word, what does he say about the wise will be confounded? And Yahweh said, let the waters and the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And Yahweh called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And Yahweh saw that it was good. If we look at this, it looks just like what we see. It is exactly what we see. We don't have to interpret it, make it. It's waters above, waters underneath. Shelim, sea. Plain and simple. The problem is we want to shake everything up and make it what we want it to look like, or even what we're told. We don't like to be lied to. We really don't, right? But somehow we hang on to that lie to death if we're not careful. And Yahweh said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit-bearing trees, fruit in which there is seed, each according to its kind on the earth. And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and the trees bearing fruit, which is their seed, each according to its kind. And Yahweh saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day. Right? So all this, if you look at your DNA, if you look at the inside of you, it looks like little lights and little shimmering things. And it looks like what we're describing, or what he's describing here, right? You have all these things inside of you, little lights and little twisted ladders, and all your DNA that's doing all these things to making you who you are. We are the most intricate, we are the most beautiful, the most sophisticated thing on this earth. We are the people, not the tree, not the sand, not the water, not the people, right? It's the most, out of everything, is people, right? Even cars or trucks or something like that, they're not as an educated level. They're not as a high sophistication as man and woman. The greatest computer is nothing to what man can do. Oh, we might be able to get beat at chest every now and then, but especially with the Ruach, especially with Yahweh, that's just child's play, right? So we go on. We find out more and more of what he made and how he created it, right? So Yahweh created man in his own image. In the image of Yahweh, he created him, male and female, he created them. Now, this is where people come up with all kinds of different things, different creations, different times, and all that. But he says what he says. We don't have to add to, we don't have to make it fit. We don't have to put anything of opinions into it. Yahweh created man in his own image. In the image of Yahweh, he created him. We have a male. And female, he created them. Male, female, right? Pretty simple. And he blessed them. And Yahweh said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Right there, the DNA, the dominion, everything a part of man and woman was superior in every way. And he just said so, right? And Yahweh said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. In the story, period. I have given you what? Every plant yielding seed. Not mushrooms, not things that don't have seeds, not fungus, not garbage, not pork, not, right? Every plant was what was our food. And every beast of the earth, to every bird of the heavens, to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath of life. I've given every plant for food, and it was so. Every plant. So what we see here, until the fall, is where we see this come into play, right? Because he doesn't change. He knows what's about to happen. It ain't like he's like, oh, gee, they sinned. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what they're going to do. He knows, and he's already planned it out, right? Yeshua was from the foundation of the earth. And Yahweh saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. I am the Alpha and the Tav, says Yahweh Elohim, who is, who was, and who is to come, the Almighty. So what does that mean? We are made in the image of Yahweh. Our very DNA has particles. Have you ever heard of the God spark? I think it was, what was his name? Love the little guy. He passed on now. I can't think of his name, but he did videos. He was traveled and everything in the Hebrew roots and things like that. He was, I can't think, I can see him, but I can't think of his name. But he did all these things and talked about them, that, you know, how he created and how he made the man and the woman and the house and the bed and all these things. Anyway, the point is that the very DNA of us is a part of Yahweh. He says so. I made you in my image. Can that be any more clear? So why would he tell you not to eat this? Why would he tell you not to live like this? Why would he say for men and men not to be together? Why would he say that? Because he knows you're going to mess up that DNA. That DNA is perfection. Perfection. But yet over and over and over, we have men sticking his little muddy hands in it and trying to make it better. Trying to do something, trying to do all these things. But what do we go to ultimately when we want to be healed? Another person, right? What do we do when we need another hand, another liver, we need another person's, right? A lot of times that other artificial stuff just don't work. Even today, I know 2 people in the last year that's had a liver transplant, not from a pig or a donkey or an artificial or an AI, straight from another person. And they're still alive. And one of them is doing very, very great. Praise Yahweh. The other one, he's still alive. He's still going. So the point is that DNA knows the DNA, but the DNA doesn't always work together, as we see, because this DNA and that DNA and that DNA can be just a little bit different because we're made different, just like our fingerprints. That's why churchianity doesn't really work, because churchianity said you sit on the pew, the pastor does it all, and you just sit there and pay money. Well, your spirit, your body, your DNA says, I got to do something. Okay, we'll go sweep the floors and clean the toilets. Okay, gee, I'm doing something. But then it doesn't really match. It doesn't really, you're still empty. You still feel there's something I really, really, really need to do. And it's not cleaning the toilets for you. So people leave. And sadly, they're never educated on their DNA. They're never educated on the feast days. They're never educated Moedim. They don't know half of what their Bible says, probably a third, if that. All they know is this made up name called J. Ain't that a shame? Ain't that a horrible thing? And most of them won't want to listen over 20 minutes, right? I mean, almost anywhere you go, no matter what, the message could be pure, crystal clear truth. Something that they ain't even heard before. Just like this. And 15, 20 minutes, that's enough of that. How do you know? How does that, right? If anyone destroys Yahweh's temple, here's a good reason not to do what he says not to do, and a good reason to do what he says to do. Whether you like it or not, in your opinion, has nothing really to do with the Bible. Believe that or not. What you like, what you think it says, what you want to live your life because you think your heart says something else, that doesn't matter. It matters what we can prove, what are the facts. If they aren't facts, it can be a theory, it can be a made up, it can be your own opinion. But your own opinion don't mean much, does it? Take your opinion to town and see how much you can get out of that check. Nothing, right? If anyone destroys Yahweh's temple, Yahweh will destroy him. For Yahweh's temple is holy, and you are the temple of Yahweh. Oh, but he won't destroy Grandma. Oh, he wouldn't destroy Uncle Bob. Oh, he wouldn't destroy good old sweetie. Oh, well, he wouldn't destroy them old people. Yahweh himself says, you're his temple. And if you destroy his temple, he will destroy you. Pretty much cut and dry. I mean, and this is 1 Corinthians. This ain't Deuteronomy 3. This ain't Deuteronomy. This ain't Exodus. This is 1 Corinthians 3 and 17. Colossians 1 and 16. For by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him. Prophets, people, lay people, people that prayer warriors, all these things, but we need to find out which one you are, which one you need to be, which one that's half the people's problem is they are not who they need to be. They just are not. They just really don't feel the role that he made them to feel. Most are too busy being prophetesses and prophets and demon slayers and all these weird things that, where does it tell you to do that? All these people that think they're all out to expose and jump on demons. If you really believe that, St. Louis and Chicago is a great town for you. If you really think that you're a demon slayer and you are ready to do that, then I would ask you to go to Chicago, downtown, go down there to the Bean and just start telling them all how it is. Walk through the east side, go through the east side of St. Louis, and you tell them how it is. But be warned, if you ain't really who you think you are. And this is why you don't see them down there. You see them on the internet, you see them behind the keyboard. They're just fired them fingers up telling you how things are. They're texting you off the wall till 1 a.m. Don't tell me what you're about. Get out in the street, show me. What's your DNA? What are you really? Are you really a sent one, or are you just a lot of hot air? A lot of people are a lot of hot air. There are a lot of keyboard warriors in this world that, boy, then if they had the chance to go to Mobile, if they got the chance to go to New Orleans, yeah, well, then black Israelites would pick you up, throw you down, and make you worship their feet, is what you would happen. You don't believe me? Watch some YouTube and watch how them people get ridiculed. Come here, Edomite, and get down, and they stand there and go, that's not right. Oh, me? I got footage standing right next to him by myself. Oh, yeah, I wasn't by myself, with the creator, the Ruach, but just this body right next to 6, 7, 10. I don't know how many finally showed up. Right in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. So I don't say things, I don't call people out that I don't do. Right? So the rib that Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man, he made into the woman and brought her to the man. This is part 2, folks. See, the first, this is where we get so misconstrued, combobulated, and messed up. There's actually, if you look at it, 2 sets of DNA here. And the third is Eve. Right? So you're working with 2 to 3 sets of DNA. And that's why we have all these different problems. Then when you start adding in fallen DNA and all that nonsense of what happened there, then you become a serious, serious thing, right? A lot of people don't understand that, but if you don't understand it, oh, Revelations is going to happen tomorrow. Revelations, I seen an earthquake, and the earthquake is going to, ooh, and they don't understand. You got to have some more fallen. You got to have some more DNA changes. You got to have some more Nephilim. You got to have a lot of things it says in the Bible itself. You can't just make these things up. And some people do. Some people make up, oh, you know, and all this CERN and all that. And, you know, yeah, they're chained until they're chained. There ain't enough CERN. There ain't enough helium. There ain't enough oxygen. There ain't enough spinning little things that man has made that's going to unchain those demons until it's time. And just like it's written, the only way they're going to be unchained is it's their time. You know, when Yeshua came and they said, you come to do what before our time? They knew. They even knew what time it was. It's sad, demons know more about time than most people. With the very DNA of Yahweh. Is that not a shame? Do you think he's so unpleased with us? Then Yahweh said, let us make man in our image, after the likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. Wow. Yahweh said, let us make man in our image. We should be, if we're going to be proud of anything, we should be proud of what he gave us. And not because, oh, look at me, proud of what he created, right? Proud of your DNA. We should protect it. We should guard it. Just like we say we guard the Sabbath, we should guard our bodies. Instead of tattooing it, putting holes in it, putting earrings in it, putting nose rings in it, putting belly rings in it, tongue rings in it, toe rings in it, and on, and it gets worse and worse. We look like a little snouted pig being brought around by the little devil with the leash, or whatever little demon that's walking around with these people. And you can tell them. We ran into one the other day. What you gonna do tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow I got the day off. What you gonna do? Go get a tattoo? Oh, wow. I wouldn't do that if I was you. Well, I'm old enough to do it. What did he just say? What did we just read? People are just not shameful at all anymore. They become their own gods. They'll do what they want with their DNA. They'll change whatever. They'll do whatever they want. What's that got to do with it? Oh, it's got a lot to do with DNA. I'm glad you asked me, because black ink and tattoo ink will change your body, and it can give you lymphoma, and it can give you cancer, and it can kill you. So if you don't think that matters, then hey, But see, we should be taught this in the very church that claims that they are saved and they're doing such great things for us. How many people that was taught in church other than, oh, well, just don't do that. We don't do that. Pulled out a Bible verse and said, don't you ever do this. And by the way, if you ever do this, one day you might get a plague. One day you might get this. And one day you might get that. See, there's reaping what you sow. For some reason, Churchianity only says, just don't do it. And they don't say that much anymore, do they? Well, we don't do that much anymore. We used to good. We used to not talk like that. But anymore, as long as you sit on the pew and shut your mouth, we're happy, right? We're happy to have the people fill the buckets. It don't matter if you got tattooed on your forehead. I go to assemblies and people are tattooed there. No shame, no remorse. Your temple is in duress and they got tattoos up and down them. Can't even hide them. Don't even want to hide them. Tell me they got this and they got that and they're living this way and they're saved. And really, nothing convinced you to cover that nastiness up? You're not promoting it? Oh, I'm not promoting it. No, you just got it on your arm. That is promoting it. What do you think this is? You think I wear this just to wear it? Who am I promoting? The Creator Yahweh. Don't tell me you put something on your arm or your back or on you you're not going to promote. You did it for a reason. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. Before you ever was, Yahweh, if you will, was knitting you together, DNA by DNA, putting you together in a perfect form, putting you together in that perfect form. And what are you doing with it? What are you doing to your liver? What are you doing to your life? What are you doing with it? There's people all the time that they got blood diseases and this problem and that problem, and all kinds of problems, but what are they doing about it? One of the easiest things to do is what the Bible says to do. Humble yourself, call upon Yahweh, give it to Yahweh, and follow what he says to do. It's that easy. I don't understand why the world makes it such a hard thing. Oh, because I like my friends. You're going to like them in hell? Oh, I like my party. You're going to like that in hell? Could you imagine of eternity of being in torment to think of all these stupid things that we think mean something today? Actually, most of them are just plain stupid, are they not? Name one thing that you would burn in hell for forever. One thing, think about that. One thing, a tattoo, eating chicken, eating pork. What is the one thing that you would gladly just spend eternity in hell for? Mommy, Poppy, your girlfriend, your child, your sister? Who is the person you would just trade it all for and say, you know what, that's it, just eternity for me? Most of us are more selfish than that, if we're honest, right? Most of us, the reason why we're doing what we're doing is because we want to be seen. Most people get their tattoos because they want somebody to notice them. They want to be noticed because they're doing it. They want to be noticed, and it's something to talk about, right? Look what I got. Look what I did. And usually there's some abominable person that's like, ooh, wow, yee, right? That's so smart. We should get another one. Maybe we should get something on her ear. Maybe we should get something on her forehead. Oh, childlike mentality. We'll do one more and we'll close it up. We'll do part 2 later, I believe. And Yahweh saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day. Yahweh made you, and he said it was good. Without tattoos, without beer, without smoking, without drinking, without being unsober, all that garbage that you might think's okay. He didn't hand it to you, right? Well, you know, it's green. There's a lot of things green, but I wouldn't eat everything. I wouldn't smoke everything green. There's green paint. I wouldn't try to smoke or eat it because it's green, right? It might be plant-based. You might have to be careful of some of these things that we do, right? Oh, well, it's out there. Well, go eat chew some tree bark up. Get some pine sap. And some of that's even better for you than the other stuff people are using, right? Use it for glue or something. Resin the stuff up. Build a boat. Do something constructive, right? So until next time, may Yahweh bless you. May his kindness shine upon you. May he grant you shalom. Folks, remember your DNA is not something to play with. A lot of times, Father Yahweh says, don't do this. And he has his reasons why we shouldn't do this. He doesn't have to tell us because pork, because chicken, because this, because down the road. You don't have to tell us all that. As a good father, he says, just don't do it. When we do it, hey, when you get down the end of this road, take a right, not a left. Why? Oh, just do what I told you. Hey, I just got in a wreck. Why? Oh, I turned left. Why would you turn left? I told you turn right. Well, I drove off the road and got hit, and I told you to turn right. Yeah, but I thought I just... That comes to mind more than often, does it not? There's more demons saying, hey, if you do just the opposite of that. But did he really say, did he really mean that? From the very garden, the same story. We should be ashamed of ourselves as human beings that the same dupe that we got duped in the garden is being duped today. And don't blame it. Oh, well, the devil made me do it. Oh, well, no, you made your decision. Most times, sadly, most people are not even tricked into doing their stupidity. They do it. And they do it with a rebellion. And that's what really comes back, right? That rebellion that, oh, I'm going to do, and I'm going to do, and I'm going to do. And it may take years, but guess what? You did it, right? Don't forget that. I'm watching, I'm doing, I'm did it. All right, remember, you did it. So remember your DNA. Remember your creator. Remember what he says. If you are his temple and he knows your insides probably better than anyone. Well, better than anyone. He made you. Better than any doctor, any PET scans, all these other scans, CT scans, x-rays. He made you. He knows what's inside of you. He knows what to fix. He knows what to destroy. So if we would just give it to Yahweh. And sometimes that's just repenting and saying, Father, I'm truly sorry. But this churchianity, I'm sorry, pass the chicken, probably not going to work so good, right? Well, I'm sorry. Raise my hand, put it down. You've seen that, right, Pastor? You got to be sorry. You got to know why you're sorry. You should feel sorry instead of, well, right? When you have things on your body, like I said before, you should cover them. People shouldn't have to tell you. Cover that nastiness up. You're a believer, cover it up. If you can't get it off, you don't want to get it off, you don't know how to get it off, be careful of that too, because that can interact. But at least cover it up. To me, that's promoting it. If you're showing something, you're promoting it. Either way you look at it. Women showing it, you're promoting it. Say what, oh no, I'm a believer. You're promoting it. Whatever you're showing, you're promoting, willingly or unwillingly. And most people are willingly doing it. That's why they get them, right? To promote them. So, till next time, shalom and Yahweh bless you. Have a great and wonderful evening. Remember Passover. Remember to keep Passover. Remember to do what Yahweh says. Keep his Moedim. Do what he says, folks. It's really simple. It's really lovely. It's really beautiful. The shalom that passes all understanding.